Parallel and perpendicular lines sound complicated, but it really comes down to one number, slope. If you can find the slope, the entire lesson becomes easy. Let me show you how. What's up, brilliant people? Joe here, and yes, we're doing math again, but I promise it won't hurt. Here at Joe Tutors, we're making math simple. So let's practice a little and stress a lot less. Today's lesson is on writing equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. By the end of this lesson, you'll know how to write equations for both, and you'll learn one simple trick so that you never mix them up. We'll start with parallel lines, then we'll move on to perpendicular lines, where I'll show you an easy trick for finding negative reciprocals. Finally, you'll get one last chance to test yourself with Can You Beat Joe? Let's get started. Let's review something you need to know to be successful in today's lesson, and that's your slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope. And that's the main thing that we're going to be focusing on today. When you have parallel lines, they have the same slope, or the same m. And when you are dealing with perpendicular lines, they have an opposite reciprocal or negative reciprocal slope. Don't worry about what a negative reciprocal is just yet. We'll learn about that when we get to perpendicular lines. So let's get started on our first problem. In our first problem, we're going to write the equation of a line that is parallel to y equals 3x plus 1 that passes through the point 2, 5. The first thing that we want to do is identify our slope. So if we are thinking about our formula, y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope, what number do we see in that spot? You should notice the 3. And so we're just going to take that information and we're going to jot it down. Our slope is 3. And now that we know that our slope is 3, we are going to use that and the point that they gave us to be able to figure out the y-intercept for our line. Remember that when you have a point, it's given to you as x, y. So we are going to plug it into our formula that way. So we have x, we have y, and we have the slope. We do not have b though. So let's start with our original equation. Y equals mx plus b. For y, we're going to plug in the number 5. For our slope, we're going to plug in the number 3. For our x, we're going to plug in our number 2, and we're going to solve for b. So now we have 5 is equal to 6 plus b. And now we're just solving for b. To do that, we're going to subtract 6 on both sides. And we're left with b is equal to -1. Remember, the original question wanted us to write the equation of a line that was parallel to what they gave us. So we still have to write our equation for our line. So we're going to write y is equal to our slope, which is 3, x minus 1. Notice that we have the same slope in our equation, and we just have a different b or y-intercept. Let's do another one. Here, we're going to write the equation of a line that is parallel to y equals -2x plus 4. So let's start by writing our equation for a line, y equals mx plus b, to help us remember our different parts. So what number is in the location of m? If you said -2, you've got it. So let's jot that down. The slope for this problem is -2. Now we are going to use our points to plug it into our equation and find out what b is. I'm going to plug this in for x. I'm going to plug this in for y. So y equals mx plus b. And now we'll plug things in. 3, -2 times 1 plus b. Let's multiply. So we'll have 3 is equal to -2 times 1 is going to give me a -2 plus b. And now we'll solve for b. So to get rid of that -2, we're going to add 2 on both sides and find that 5 is b. Let's rewrite our original equation for slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. And remember, the only things that you're going to plug in is your m, slope, and your b, y-intercept. What was our slope again? Oh, look, we wrote it there. So y is equal to -2x plus 5. Notice that in our equation we have plus b, but in our last example, our b was negative. So if you have a negative number, it'll be minus, and if you have a positive number, it'll be plus. And we have the same slope, but different y-intercepts. That's all there is to parallel lines. Perpendicular lines are a little different, and this is where students usually get mixed up. Remember when I said perpendicular lines use a negative reciprocal slope? Well, here's what I mean. I want you to flip your fraction and change your sign. Let's try with this first number. Well, we have 2, but we know that 2 could also be written as 2 over 1. So now it looks more like a fraction. We're going to flip it. So instead of 2 over 1, we'll have 1 over 2. And it started off positive, so our negative reciprocal is going to be negative. So the negative reciprocal of 2 is -1/2. Let's try it again. We have a regular fraction here, 3 over 4. So you want to flip it to 4 over 3 and change the sign. And one more time, let's see if you can be faster than I am. We have -5. I'm going to rewrite that as -5 over 1, and we're going to flip it to 1 over 5, and it was negative. So now when I have the negative reciprocal or the opposite reciprocal, it becomes positive. That's all there is to it. Flip the fraction and change the sign. If you can remember that, you've got the hardest part. Now let's use it as we do this next problem. Write the equation of a line that is perpendicular to y equals 1/2 x plus 3. The first thing that you want to do is identify your slope in the line that they gave you. So I'm going to start by writing y equals mx plus b to help me identify my slope, which is right there. And then I'm going to write it down, 1/2. And now to find the slope of my perpendicular line, I'm going to flip it and change the sign. So if I flip 1/2, I'm going to have 2 over 1, or just 2, and then I want to change the sign. So it goes from just 2 to a -2. Now that I know my slope for my perpendicular line, I'm going to use that point the same way I did with parallel lines. Y equals mx plus b. Here's my slope. Here's my x. And here's my y. All right, let's get started. 1 is equal to -2 times 4 plus b. 1 is equal to -2 times 4 is -8 plus b. And we'll solve for b by moving that 8 to the other side. Add 8 on both sides. And b is equal to 9. y equals mx plus b. So I found b, and I have my slope. All we got to do is plug those things in. Y equals negative 2x plus 9. So I want you to pay attention to your opposite reciprocal slopes. The common mistakes that I notice is that students will only flip their fraction or only change the sign. Remember, you have to do both. So now it's time for Can You Beat Joe? Here's your challenge. Write the equation of a line perpendicular to y equals negative 3x plus 2 that passes through the point 0, negative 1. Pause the video and see if you can solve it before I do. No peeking. Welcome back. Let's start solving. First, let's identify our slope, which is right there, negative 3. We're given negative 3. Remember, with perpendicular lines, they have the opposite reciprocal slope, so we are going to write down our slope for our perpendicular line as a positive 1/3. And we can get started. Y equals mx plus b. So negative 1 is equal to 1/3 times 0 plus b. And we know that anything times 0 is 0. So all we're left is b is equal to negative 1. That's actually kind of fast. And then we have to do that last step. Don't forget to plug in what you got. So that means plug in our b and plug in our slope. Y equals 1/3 x minus 1. And that's our final answer. Is that what you got? Did you beat me? Let me know in the comments. If you remember this, you're good. Parallel lines have the same slope, and for perpendicular lines, to find the slope, you need to flip it and change the sign. If this still feels tricky, that's okay. Rewatch, pause, and practice. Every problem you solve builds your confidence, and future you will thank you. And maybe you need some practice in some other skills, like solving multi-step equations. I have a video on that too, if that helps. If you need more individualized help, check out the link in my bio. And if this lesson helped you, send it to a friend who could use a little extra math support, because we're all in this together and we never gatekeep math tips. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next lesson. Until next time, practice a little, stress a lot less. Love always, your math teacher. Ciao.